country. You should be here standing with us.
Marching through the streets of London, one of the largest right-wing demonstrations to take place in the UK in modern times. Organized by the far-right anti-immigration activist Tommy Robinson, it was billed as a celebration of free speech.
Illegal immigration is out of control, and we're losing our voice. You know what I mean? Freedom of speech, I feel, is being eroded.
Close by, a much smaller counter-protest organized by anti-racism activists.
I'm just really against racism.
So close at one point that right-wing marchers began throwing things at them and pushing police. But some demonstrators were looking beyond Britain's borders. Among the Union Jacks and St. George's crosses were MAGA hats and American flags.
Me and my partner decided to have an American flag as well to show our solidarity with America, basically, and the relationship that we have, and more specifically because of the death of Charlie Kirk.
Do you feel a connection to Charlie Kirk?
I like what he stood for. I like his integrity.
Tens of thousands of people came out today to hear speakers at these screens. The crowds were so large they stretched all the way down the road behind me and then down behind past Westminster, across the bridge, over the Thames River to the south of the city.
One of those speakers, Tesla billionaire Elon Musk, who called for a change of government in the UK.
What I see happening is a destruction of Britain.
Rob traveled to London from Canada just to attend the march.
I want to basically get an idea as to what they're going through, so I'll get a more clear picture as to what's coming to us.
What do you make of when people call rallies like this racist?
Oh, that's just a buzzword that they've been using for years to try to discourage it. They want to change the West completely and put it under more of an authoritarian rule.
London's Metropolitan Police said a number of its officers were assaulted by the right-wing demonstrators, Dorica, and that 25 people were arrested.
When millions claim they're saving Britain while chanting about tax burdens and free funds, you know we've crossed into their performance territory. Today, London witnessed what organizers call the biggest protest in UK history. A sea of flags, fears, and some very familiar talking points that sound suspiciously imported from across the pond. But here is the thing that should terrify you. This isn't really about immigration at all. Guys, I have a couple of clips I'd like us to watch, and I'll be back with my further analysis.
It's our country. You should be here standing with us.
We're here today because we're not here because of their skin colour, we're not here because of race, we're not here because of what they look like. We're here because this country has a serious issue at the moment, and we have to pay for these people, and we're fed up of paying for these people that have come here and they get everything for free. They get healthcare for free, dental care for free, free phones, phone contracts, contact lenses, glasses, absolutely everything they get for free, and we've had enough of it. We're a fed up nation, we're a fed up people, and again, there's people over there shouting racist, far right. There's no far right, there's no hooligans here, there's no racism here, it's nothing to do with skin colour. I'll actually say, let's call a referendum tomorrow, and anyone who votes for the refugees or asylum seekers to stay here, anyone on the left should have their tax raised to 70% minimum and should free up a space in their house. If they want them here, they can pay for them and make the space for them. And anyone on the right doesn't pay anything and doesn't make any space for them.
Breaking news coming from the UK, something huge is happening. Today in London, over 1 million people marched in a protest called Unite the Kingdom. News outlets are documenting it at around 110,000. However, I do believe that number isn't true, because I'm sure if you've seen the videos, you've seen the photos, you can clearly see it's well over 100,000 people. People flocked from all over the UK with their UK and England flags in protest for the freedom of speech and anti-immigration. This has been recorded as one of the biggest marches in the UK's history. This has been a long time coming for the UK. This has been a pressure cooker, and now things are unfolding. Hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people are turning out to these marches. I've never seen anything like this in the UK before. I've never witnessed anything like this. But this is what's happening in the UK at the moment.
Let me paint you a picture. Thousands gathered in London, united by a singular belief that they are paying for these people who allegedly get everything for free. Health care, dental care, phones, contact lenses, the whole shopping list of resentment, and standing before them Elon Musk declaring the destruction of Britain like some digital age Nostradamus. Now, I want you to notice something here. This is not your grandmother's immigration debate. This is immigration anxiety as consumer complaint. We are paying for them. They cry as if refugees are somehow the reason your NHS wait times for months long, not decades or territory like the Gare Public Services. But here's where it gets really interesting and really American. One speaker actually proposed a referendum where another supporting refugees should pay 70% tax rates and house them personally. Should sounds familiar. It should, yes. It's the same. If you love immigrants so much, why don't you marry them? Logic that Charlie Kirk has been peddling for years. And speaking of Charlie Kirk, guess whose name was explicitly mentioned as inspiration at this totally British, not at all important demonstration, right? So now comes to my favorite part here of this whole performance, the racism denial dance. It's choreographed to perfection. Step 1, explicitly deny any racial motivation. Step 2, immediately follow with this has nothing to do with skin color. Step 3, pivot to economic grievances. And finally, step 4, claim you're the real victim of censorship. I quote, "We are not racist," they insist. "We just think Britain is being destroyed by mass immigration and we need to protect British culture." Do you see the sleight of hand here? They are not against people because of their race. They are against them because of their culture, their presence, their audacious need for medical care. This is what I call grievance laundering. Taking raw xenophobia and running it through the spin cycle of economic anxiety until it comes out looking respectable. Let me quote this. "We are not racist, we are taxpayers." As if these are mutually exclusive categories. But here's the part that should genuinely worry you. They are not wrong about being silenced. For 20 years, as they correctly note, these sentiments were pushed to be the margins. The question isn't whether they were censored. It is what happens when decades of suppressed resentment meets a global permission structure for saying the quiet parts out loud. Let's talk about what's really happening here, because this is not a story about British nationalism. It is a story about American cultural imperialism imposed on UK. This protest didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened in a world where Elon Musk bought Twitter to restore free speech, where Trump normalized grievance politics, and where a very specific template for anti-immigration organizing has been exported globally. Notice the language. Patriotism is the future. Borders are the future. These aren't British talking points. They are Steve Bannon talking points with a Cockney accent. The whole framework has been imported. The victimhood complex, the economic scapegoating, even the specific claim that supporting immigration makes you complicit in authoritarian rule. Well, guys, there was even a Canadian attendee who traveled to London to understand what they are going through. Because apparently, watching this unfold on social media wasn't enough. They needed to see the live performance of democratic backsliding. Alright? So, I want us to go deeper into this economic argument, because it is some heavy lifting. If I can say, the protesters claim immigrants get everything for free, while hardworking Britons struggle. Now, setting aside the obvious fact that most immigrants are actually contribute more in taxes than they consume in services, it transformed a complex economic system where decades of underinvestment in public services has created scarcity into a zero-sum game between us and them. Your hospital wait is long, not because successive governments choose austerity over adequate funding. It's because immigrants are somehow jumping the queue. Your housing is unaffordable, not because of decades of policy choices that prioritized property investment over homes for people. It's because immigrants are taking your houses, Never mind that most of the people complaining about immigrants getting free housing probably could not afford to buy their own neighborhoods regardless. This is the genius of scapegoat politics. It takes legitimate material, grievances, and redirects them towards the most vulnerable targets while protecting the actual systems and people responsible for the problems. Here's what should terrify you, by the way. This template is everywhere now. The same grievances, the same language, the same deflection strategies from London to Sydney to Toronto. All these people are protesting, by the way, because of immigrants. Not in Australia, not in Canada, not in UK. And it's not a coincidence a Canadian traveling to London to witness this. Back home they were protesting too. So it's because they recognize this as part of a global movement. Sometimes I feel like these things are choreographed, man. And here's the part that Contrapoint will appreciate. This is not about really about immigration at all. It never was. This is about the collapse of the promise that capitalism would deliver broadly shared prosperity. When that promise breaks down, you need someone to blame, and immigrants, visible, vulnerable, and conveniently unable to vote, in many cases, make the perfect targets. But the real question is not whether these protesters have legitimate economic grievances. Many of them do. The question is why those grievances are being channeled towards people seeking asylum rather than towards the system and people who actually created the conditions they are complaining about. Okay? What we witnessed in London wasn't democracy. It was the performance of democracy. It had all the staging, the flags, the speeches about free speech, the claims to represent the common good, but strip away the theater, and what you have is actually, is a careful orchestrated campaign to make xenophobia sound like fiscal responsibility. The real tragedy here isn't that these people are angry. It's that their anger is being systemically misdirected. They are right that they've been paying for a system that doesn't serve them. They're just completely wrong about where the money is actually going to, right? While they are counting the most of refugee healthcare, they are ignoring the billions in corporate tax avoidance. While they're worried about immigrants getting free phones, they are not asking why telecommunication companies are allowed to charge extortionate rates for basic services like calling, data, So while they are concerned about the destruction of British culture, they are supporting politicians who have spent decades selling British assets to foreign investors. So here's my challenge to everyone watching this. If you're in UK, you're in Australia, you're in Canada, you're in the US, someone tells you that immigration is destroying your country. Ask them about the real numbers. Ask them about corporate taxes, about wealth inequality. Ask them, right? Who actually owns the housing that becomes unaffordable? About who profits from the privatization of public services? Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. The people gathering in London to demand borders and patriotism, many of them are victims too. Victims of a global economic system, right? That concentrates wealth upward, convincing that people being squeezed to blame each other instead of looking up and see who are these people squeezing them and taking their wealth. The real common good isn't about keeping people out. It's about building systems that work for everyone and everyone who is in. And until we are willing to have that conversation, we are going to keep seeing these performances of democracy while the actual levels of power remain untouched. The question is not whether Britain is being destroyed, it's who is doing the destroying. Is it the system itself, or are you blaming your immigrants? And why you keep looking in all the wrong directions for the answer? The answer is right there with you. Don't let them make you choose between economic justice and human dignity. The real choice is between systems that serve people and systems that serve capitalists and the oligarchs. Everything else is just performance. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.